um, doing something regularly with a clear intention helps clarify mind because it's easy to get distracted. And our habits of distraction live in our bodies and mind. So if we practice clarity, we cultivate a habit of clarity and responsiveness. And if we practice distraction, we cultivate a habit of distraction. And then we wonder when we're distracted and we don't want to be, why am I distracted? Well, we get good at what we practice. So we've gotten good at being distracted. Why shouldn't it happen spontaneously? So one way to talk about our practice tradition is to recognize that when we talk about mind, things, relationships, and cause and effect, all that is a way of talking about karma or action or persistent mind habits. And if we see, there's a saying, if there's one hair's breadth, heaven and earth are separate. So that's not pleasant in some way. So being intentional about sitting, bowing, chanting, and formal practice gives us something to do with our body with nothing else to do, to live in the middle of something deeply important. And only do that for no other reason. So sitting gives you a still posture of your body, and bowing gives you a moving posture of mind, and chanting gives you a moving posture of hearing and speaking. And stillness, motion, and sound are fundamental activities of our life, whatever tradition you're from. We happen to use them on purpose to clarify mind. And everybody here who's practiced knows if you do that regularly, something appears, some kind of anchor, some kind of clarity, some kind of strengthening of intention, that even if those practices involve some difficulty, we have enough experience to know it's worth it. So that's one way to cultivate the fundamental. But as an eminent teacher once said, cultivating doesn't involve pulling up weeds. So don't waste your time pulling up weeds when you're cultivating. So that's one important thing to do with your body, are these clusters of practices we have together with Sangha, because otherwise we're practicing being alone, which has some virtue. It's good to rectify our posture in our own space. But if we want to learn how to keep our posture among others, then it's vital to do that with other people who are doing the same thing for the same reason. And that's our practice community. And as I said before, you can't do that by yourself. But there are also three other aspects. One is when you stand up and you're not bowing, chanting, or sitting, your activity changes, so your experience changes, so your feelings change. And maybe it feels like I lost something and I want to get it back. But that has two fundamental errors. The first is I want something and I can't get it, so I'm suffering. But that's why we're suffering. So if you practice with that intention, you only learn how to suffer in more subtle ways. The second fundamental error is like this. When you brush your teeth and you spit your toothpaste down the drain, do you want to chase after it? So this has a similar character to that. If you want to do something with your body when you're not doing formal practice, take advantage of the dozens of routines that we all do during the day and take a handful of them and make them practice moments. Really, you can only practice with your body. If you have no body, you can't practice. So washing your face, brushing your teeth, taking care of your hair, folding laundry, stacking dishes, turning a doorknob, something that doesn't involve figuring anything out can be a practice moment, like a 20-second work period. Yeah. And that's doing something intentional with your mind to remember something important. So that's mind practice. You create a string of moments throughout the course of the day where your body and your mind are doing the same thing at the same time. And of course, a string is a sutra. That's the meaning of the word, a thread. So then you have the Mark Sutra, the Laurie Sutra, the Nancy Sutra, the Island Sutra, et cetera, et cetera. You make your life your sutra. If you do body practice and mind practice, then you start to see what our lineage has taught forever. Everyday mind is Zen mind. So that which is ordinary deserves your attention, and you don't need to go looking for something else. So sleeping when you're tired, eating when you're hungry, noticing if other people are hungry, stopping at a red light, looking both ways at a green light, going if it's safe, waiting if it's not. If you see everyday mind is Zen mind, that's life practice. And of course, if you're living with other people, then only see their mind light, then you do intimate mind practice together. Then body practice, mind practice, life practice, student practice, I already talked about. But you can't do any of these without your body, and you can't do one unless you're doing all. Otherwise, something becomes confused. And it's important to remember to root yourself in the fundamental. So as Zen Master Jok Um once said, when I talk about sitting practice is the most important thing. When I talk about bowing is the most important thing. When I talk about chanting is the most important thing. When I talk about retreats are the most important thing. When I talk about everyday mind is the most important thing. So for all of us, let's together practice and find the most important thing. Thank you.